Welcome back to the 17 News at Noon podcast, where we share your news on your schedule.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Noon.
Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us. I'm Nicole Gitsky. Well, we're now learning the name of a person that died in a motorcycle accident Tuesday. The accident happened just before 6:30 p.m. Tuesday at the intersection of South H Street and Hendricks Lane. That's just south of Wilson Road. According to Bakersfield police, a car and a motorcycle collided. The motorcyclist is now identified as Gilbert Rodriguez II. Officers performed CPR on Rodriguez until firefighters arrived and took over. He was taken to Kern Medical, where he was pronounced dead. The driver of the car stayed at the scene. BPD says it does not appear drugs or alcohol were factors in that crash. They're asking anyone with information to call 327-7111. Well, new information on a crash that killed one man in Rosemont. According to California Highway Patrol, 31-year-old Cody Chrisman was killed in a crash on Rosemont Boulevard that is east of Division Street on Tuesday. He died at the scene. The coroner's office confirms the 31-year-old died to the extent of his injuries. It is unclear exactly what led to that deadly car crash. And we're learning more information about a fatal accident that happened yesterday. This happened on State Route 178 near Paul's Place. A woman in a Ford lost control of her car. She tried to overcorrect and ended up going into the shoulder. Then she went off the road and the car overturned. The driver was killed in the accident. We don't know her name yet. It's unclear if drugs and alcohol were factors. Well, new at noon, we're learning more about a homicide in Wasco several weeks ago. According to the Kern County Sheriff's Office, a man was shot by an unknown suspect. It happened just before 8 a.m. at the intersection of Rose Street and Griffith Avenue. Officers say the victim, 32-year-old Jesse Abarca, was shot and was fighting for his life for several days after that. Abarca died of his injuries on July 12th. They still have no suspect information. Anyone with information on this shooting is asked to contact KCSO at 861-3110. Well, now for the latest on the coronavirus here in Kern County. Kern Public Health announced another 153 COVID cases today with 7 new deaths. Our death toll now stands at 105. Almost 2,300 people are isolated in their homes. 151 are being treated at local hospital. That's 9 more patients than Public Health reported yesterday. The county says expect in the coming days for a jump in cases. According to Public Health, we are not on the state's watch list at this time. As soon as we are on that public health watch list, though, we will be notified right away. Well, happening today, Rite is about to bring a dozen of new coronavirus testing sites to Kern County. Rite announced that more of its pharmacies will have drive-through coronavirus testing. There's no requirement, so even if you don't have symptoms, you can get a test. According to Rite website, multiple stores in Bakersfield will have testing, along with certain stores in Delano, McFarland, Wasco, Shafter, Rosemont, and Lamont. Those test sites will start opening today. The company says you can pre-register on its website, riteaid.com. Well, restaurants are opting to move the dining room to the sidewalk to keep customers coming. The state's latest coronavirus order only says restaurants can't seat people inside. It leaves the door open, if you will, for dining outdoors. So the city has been granting permits for restaurants to set up tables and chairs on sidewalks or parking lots. The city now says 9 restaurants received permission to use the streets, with up to 5 more likely being approved soon. Now the search continues for a man this afternoon who went missing at the Kern River earlier this week. Search and rescue crews are back out looking for the reported 30-year-old man who went into the water about a half-mile inside the mouth of the canyon and didn't resurface. It's unclear if he fell in or was going for a swim. He was not wearing a life vest at that time. An investigation continues after a body was found inside a burning home in Bakersfield. The fire happened on A Street near the intersection of Chester Lane. It's unknown how that fire started, but the fire department called Bakersfield police to investigate after that body was found. Investigators have determined the body to be 61-year-old Donald Edward Hazelton. The coroner's office is working to determine the cause of that death. No arrests have been made. Officers say this is still an open investigation. Anyone with information is urged to contact BPD at 327-7111. Cool. Now we are looking at triple-digit heat once again. Let's send things back over to our chief meteorologist, Alyssa Carlson.
Well, we're going to crank up the heat a little bit as we head into this afternoon, and another heat wave on the way starting today. We knew it was going to happen at one point or not. Heat wave number 4 starting today. Temperatures, meanwhile, for the weekend up to 102, 103-ish. And that smoke plume from the mineral fire will continue to blow into the south edge of the valley, worsening our air quality over the next couple of days. So at this point, it's not too bad yet, but it under high pressure could continue to be trapped here at the surface. So we'll be looking then statewide here at that air quality warning. If you are in the valley areas or even in the foothills up near the Central Sierra, you may be impacted. There's still an area of low pressure off the coast of Southern California, and with the counterclockwise flow around that, it is producing a little bit of moisture. So this afternoon in the Central Sierra, we may see another round of pop-up showers and thunderstorms. Not going to see anything here in Kern County, but the Futurecast does pop them up again near Yosemite to Kings Canyon. Meanwhile, the monsoon flow over the Four Corners states still producing showers and thunderstorms in Arizona, but that's going to stay eastward. So Kern County just really dodging any sort of moisture here, and at this point I don't see any big monsoon flow working into Kern County quite yet. Here's the forecast for today. 102 in Fresno, 91 in Sacramento, 69 in San Francisco, 75 in San Luis Obispo, 78 in LA, 81 in San Diego, and triple digits out in the desert near Barstow. Here's the forecast in the valley. 100 in Bakersfield, 102 in McFarland, 100 in Porterville, 101 in Delano. Same for Wasco and Shafter, 97 in Taft and Maricopa, 102 in Arvin. In the mountains, sunny and warm, 99 in Lake Isabella, 100 in Kernville, 90 in Tehachapi, 88 in Fraser Park, 81 in Pine Mountain Club. In the desert, southerly winds gusting to 35, 106 in Ridgecrest. Air quality and healthy for sensitive groups, 101 for that AQI, and the UV is still at a 9. And we'll be in the triple digits again tomorrow, heating up for the weekend. Next week, back near 100. Lows in the lower 70s. Make sure that you do stay hydrated if you work outdoors. Take frequent breaks. And in the mountains, looking here at an average high of 90 as we head into the next 4 days, and then upper 80s returning by Monday, with lows in the upper 50s to near 60. Here in the Kern River Valley, 99 today. It is going to be hot, and then 100 on Saturday, 99 on Sunday. Mid-90s next week, overnight lows in the upper 60s to lower 70s. Stay safe out there, everyone. The heat wave just starting, so make sure you do drink plenty of fluids and stay indoors if possible. Nicole?
Well, the night of June 3rd was the night a Black Lives Matter protester was hit by a car on California Avenue. He later died from his injuries. Police questioned the driver but declined to detain or arrest him pending an investigation. Now, some are growing impatient as they await word from BPD. There are at least 2 online petitions demanding an arrest, and combined, they have nearly 250,000 signatures. 17's Robert Price has more.
It's been 6 weeks since Robert Forbes was hit and killed during a protest march on California Avenue near Oak Street. Now, 6 weeks later, a lot of people are starting to ask, will there ever be an arrest in this case? Did the driver of the car that hit Forbes that night in the middle of that darkened roadway accelerate as he approached, even as other cars ahead of him were clearly braking? That driver, who identified himself as Timothy Keith Moore by way of a social media apology, since deleted, denies intent. But half of the witnesses interviewed by police say he did in fact increase his speed as he approached. One of those witnesses is Noah Presley, who started a petition via change.org demanding Moore's arrest. The petition has nearly 200,000 signatures. A second petition has 50,000 signatures. Presley, a Bakersfield College student, said he'd met Forbes that night, just 15 minutes before Forbes was fatally injured.
I shook his hand because there was a guy that came up and tried starting problems with us, and Robert just put up his hand with the peace sign and was just like, I'm just here to bring peace, man, like, let's just talk. And the guy just shut his door on him and drove off, and Robert just walked away. He was a really nice guy. I was really impressed by the way he handled that.
Presley's petition asked the mayor of Bakersfield, the sheriff, and the city manager to push for an arrest. But the Bakersfield Police Department, the only agency that can actually recommend charges to the district attorney, is still not ready to do so. BPD spokesman Sergeant Robert Pear told 17 News this week that all of the witnesses that were in position to see the incident, with the exception of unidentified or uncooperative protesters, have been interviewed. He said investigators are still processing electronic data, including social media, in an effort to determine any, quote, intent or activity that would speak to that possibility. BPD has said it's aware of the driver's tattoos, some of which have been associated with white supremacist groups. And Chief Greg Terry has said that, too, is part of the investigation. BPD is also pursuing reports that the driver had passengers who ran from the scene after the accident. BPD would like to interview them as well. Car versus marcher incidents have taken place all over the country since the protests began in late May. A report last month from the University of Chicago's Project on Security and Threats concludes right-wing extremists were behind at least 50 of those vehicle ramming incidents. 18 were categorized as deliberate, and another 24 were undetermined or still under investigation. Timothy Keith Moore's case is among the latter, but that of 31-year-old Michael Tran would fall among the former. Tran has been charged with assault with a deadly weapon after allegedly driving through a throng of marchers right in front of the Bakersfield police station May 29th, striking one marcher who suffered minor injuries. But Moore walks a free man as of now, 6 weeks into a personal and legal limbo, somewhere between intentional culpability and tragic innocence. 250,000 people think they know what happened, but they don't get a vote. In Bakersfield, Robert Price, 17 News.
Now, a footnote here. Efforts to reach Timothy Keith Moore for comment were unsuccessful as of news time. Now to education news. Students in the Kern High School District will begin the new school year at home. Wednesday afternoon, the Board of Trustees voted 3-2 to begin next month in a distance learning format. That means no in-person classes, at least not for the first academic quarter. Board President Brian Beatty and Vice President Joey O'Connell were the two no votes. Distance learning will last at least until October 9th.
I hope that we're able to return our kids back to school at the end of the first quarter. And I just couldn't apologize more to those students who are going to be seniors. I know what you're missing, and my heart goes out to you. I'm sure you can hear it in my voice how sad I am for you. But I hope we're able to do everything we can to get you back in school. I know that's the board's intention.
Earlier this week, the executive board of the Kern High School Teachers Association said it's recommending the district keep school campuses closed. Now, the McFarland Unified School District has made a decision for the upcoming fall quarter. The school district will reopen in-person schooling in phases. Phase 1 begins August 5th with alternating schedules for kindergarten and first graders attending school physically. All other students will continue with distance learning. The district has a total of 4 phases for their reopening. The district has targeted dates for those different phases, but it will be based on COVID-19 cases along with public health guidelines. And it's a slightly different story for the Fairfax School District. The district says parents will get to decide how their kids will learn with 3 options. Parents can choose for kids to be on campus for 4 days a week with 1 day of distance learning, or a hybrid schedule with kids on campus for just 2 days a week, or keeping their children off campus entirely with distance learning. Parents must decide by Thursday, July 23rd, or kids will automatically be enrolled in the 4-day option. The district does warn, though, that they will try to offer a parent's first choice, but it is not guaranteed. And California's Superintendent of Public Instruction supports online learning if new cases don't start going down. Wednesday, Tony Thurmond said he expects most districts to begin their school years virtually this fall. The Department of Public Health released guidelines last month for schools to reopen, but Thurmond says conditions have changed significantly since then.
And if it's not safe to do so, then schools should not reopen in a way that would put students or staff in harm's way.
He says ultimately it's up to health officials and districts working together at a local level to make that decision. Now, some college students in Los Angeles are getting an extra incentive to study from home. The University of Southern California says it will hand out $4,000 in financial aid from both the upcoming fall and spring semesters. The money will go to undergrads who would otherwise receive aid from room and board. The only condition is the students will have to stay at home during those 2 semesters. Most of the fall classes for them will be held online either way. The university says it made the move because the coronavirus outbreak made it hard for students to plan ahead. And Bakersfield City Council approves a plan to transform part of Mill Creek. Now, back in March, we told you the owner of Maya Cinemas wants to buy 5 acres of land near the movie theater to create an entertainment district at P Street and California Avenue. Wednesday, the council approved the letter of intent for the sale of the land to ME Development Company. The city calls this the final step in the Mill Creek Vision Plan. Well, Garces Memorial High School is mourning the loss of a beloved football coach. John Roberts passed away on July 12th. Roberts graduated from Garces back in 1972. He spent years as the assistant football coach at Garces. After he retired from his job at the Kern County Probation Department in 2010, he became the head football coach. Robert leaves behind his wife Jan and their 3 children.